Thursday of every month with Selectman Joe Didi and his take on everything Southwick.
Community Radio
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
He missed it.
Ah. We can't start. Nope. I'm waiting. Whoa. Fancy. Fancy that.
Now I'm just messing with him.
He was in the middle of that wipe when it hit the top of the hour, but now it's 8:08 and a half.
All right, now we can start.
Sure. Whatever.
Morning, Pete.
Morning. Somebody's been here since 5:45, so.
Oh, dear Lordy days. How are the roads at 5:45?
They were fine.
Yeah, my road is
Wet.
fine, too. Yeah, they're wet.
Although the custodian said the upper campus, the outside was icy. Down here is wet.
My steps were all icy, but I walk up through the yard, so I was good. I'll check with the cows, see how the field is. Oh, wait, did you want to say something?
I came pretty close to guessing where that camera's going to end up.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
I adjusted it a little bit, too.
All right, I'm going to...
Remember, I can digitally adjust.
Okay, I'm good. All right, how's that? Is that better?
You know, there's something else digital that you can partake of.
What?
Well, it's a type of exam.
Oh, thanks. I'll save that for my qualified
All right,
doctor.
I'm lost. Oh, here he goes. What, Ken?
I don't know if I can say digital rectal exam on the air.
I knew exactly what you're talking about.
You just did.
This is what sound you make after that starts.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear. I'm afraid to ask what you're talking about. Go
Where's
for
the
it.
kaboom? There was supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom.
Okay.
It's it's a procedure that
Prostate exam.
well, yeah. It's not the knock you out, put a wand
Yeah,
up, but
prostate exam.
it's digital. These are digits.
I got it. Okay. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
I've learned something today.
And you know what?
What?
When I last had that done, I asked the doctor, "Would you just double check to make sure my head isn't up there?" And he said, "Nope, no, it's not."
All right, for all of you listening, we're not responsible for this. Go for
Who's
it.
responsible for the heat in here? It's gone up 2 degrees since I sat down.
You're just a hot kid.
I mean, I hate the cold, but the heat. I'm sitting right underneath the register.
Oh, yeah, you are.
Yeah, I may have to crack that window
Open the
open.
window. Windows are supposed to be open in the winter, especially at night. You're supposed to sleep in a cool bedroom.
I don't run my heat at night.
I don't either. I turn it way down.
I turned mine down to like 58.
Yeah, I do too.
I've got the heated waterbed.
I don't have a heated bed, but my upstairs is so well insulated that if I left the heat on, I'd be dying.
Yeah, well, you're of the age where you probably remember those bed irons that you used to put over the hearth and
No, but
you warmed up your bed
but
once.
we used
and
to
that
have to
was it.
wind up the ropes, to get them tighter. Yeah, we had to chase the bed bugs out. Sure. We had corn husks in the mattress. Yep, we did.
I deserve that.
We used a pan to
deserve
warm the
all that.
sheets. Yes, you do.
Yes.
Pick on me, will you, buddy? That's because Bob's not here to pick on.
Oh, you know what?
So I'm the one.
You're making a valid point
I
here.
am.
Yeah.
Nobody's here. So I'm the target. I'm okay. I can take this.
Bob never got to go to the Wisconsin, by the way.
He didn't. Why?
The relatives, one of them had COVID.
Oh, no.
That means I'm not getting any Chiefs turds. I mean, curds.
Right, yeah.
You know what? This is that week out of the year, the 1 week out of the year where you're between Christmas and New Year's. You have no idea where you are or what you're doing or what day it is.
It's Sunday, Monday, Sunday, Monday, Sunday, Monday. Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
I
Friday,
do
Monday.
know that today is the 28th day of December in the year 2021 Anno Domini, and this is the Den.
It is.
Yep. Ken's Den.
The views expressed by the host during his monologue are not those of Westfield State University, the radio club, that guy out shoveling the walk at the Chester Railway Station, or the guys around campus. And now, the man with the smoking problem.
Christmas is over, right?
That's what they tell
Right,
us.
for this year.
Why the hell am I still seeing holiday-themed commercials on television, including the annoying Hershey's Kisses commercial?
Bum, 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 bum.
And no, it's dun 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 dun, dun with the bells.
Well, at least they've taken off the old one.
They have updated it, but it still
hate
starts
it,
off that way. I still hate it. I'm breaking away from this, but it just totally sucks my will to live.
Okay,
All right.
go for it.
And also, why are new Christmas specials still airing? I think Hallmark still has some new ones.
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
All right. It is over with. All right. Pack your stuff. Time to go back to normal. The fat man came. Let's wrap it up. Time to strike. It's been 4 days already. On another note, how about that ice on Saturday? Yeah, just another reason why I am retiring out to Nevada. Yeah. The idea that you need to be a good ice skater to get from your house to your garage is bull biscuits.
Bull biscuits.
And, I'm already sick and tired of seeing that white crap.
It's lovely.
Oh, it's so pretty. Get out there and shovel. No, that's what you're here for.
No, I did it. I shoveled.
No, I got a bad back. You have to.
I don't feel good.
Oprah's on.
2%. Hallmark movie.
The good news is that the repair I made to the snowblower this fall worked. Yeah. The bad news is that I needed to operate it.
For an inch?
I had 2 down in my driveway, and if I left it there, it would have been sheer terror the following morning. Now, in Nevada, I'm never going to have to own one of those again. That'll be quite a change from having 2 in the garage.
Okay.
Yeah, if one goes down, my place can't be plowed out.
No, you really can't.
No,
Too small.
no. So I have to have 2, and these things take up so much room.
They do.
You know what else takes up room?
Uh-oh.
Lawnmowers. And yes, there are 2 of them as well. But along with the pool, though, there's very little to mow now, right?
All right.
All right. Now, you usually don't think of pools in December, but I did.
Why?
I bought an upgraded pump and filter.
Okay.
Yeah, last summer I used the included filter, and although it was engineered to clean the pool, I think it was still underpowered. I had that
I
cloudy.
remember that. I remember the issue.
So in the words of Tim Allen,
Oh,
more power. Arr, 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 arr. I ordered a 3/4 horse pump and sand filter.
Oh,
that
my.
is way oversized for the pool I have. I'm expecting quite a vortex when this thing runs.
Oh, don't get sucked in.
I will not deal with cloudiness that won't go away regardless of treatment.
A cloud.
But you know what? You know when that happens?
No.
That is still 3 Vegas trips away.
3. You poor thing.
Yeah, like how in Massachusetts we describe distance not in miles but in time.
Right.
Everyone else around the country, how far is that? 2 miles. How far is that? 3 miles. New England, Massachusetts, how far is
An
that?
hour away.
45 minutes.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So now I mentioned I figure out time with my trips out to Vegas. Well, that's not going to happen for another trip out to Vegas. This is going to happen so I've got 3 trips
So
to
that's our
Vegas
measure.
before I have to worry about dealing with the
gotcha.
pool.
I got
See
it.
how I timed that out now?
I got that.
But for now, let's stop the holiday music, and don't you dare, Peter.
He will.
Let's go back to normal programming on television and prepare for a worthy holiday,
Which is?
St. Patrick's Day. Let's pay our bills. We'll be back right after this.
sliding away, slip sliding away. You know the nearer your destination, the more you slip sliding away. I know a man, he came from my hometown. He wore his passion for his woman like a thorny crown. He said, Dolores, I live in fear. My love for you is so overpowering, I'm afraid that I will disappear. Slip sliding away, slip sliding away. You know the nearer your destination, the more you slip sliding away. And I know a woman became a wife. These are the very words she uses to describe her life. She said a good day ain't got no rain. She said her bad days when I lie in bed and think of things that might have been. Slip sliding away, slip sliding away. You know the nearer your destination, the more you slip sliding away. And I know a father who had a son. He longed to tell him all the reasons for the things he'd done. He came a long way just to explain. He kissed his boy as he lay sleeping, then he turned around and headed home again. He slipped sliding, slip sliding away. You know the nearer your destination, the more you slip sliding away. And God only knows, God makes his plan. The information's unavailable to the mortal man. We're working our jobs, collect our pay. Believe we're gliding down the highway when in fact we're slip sliding away. Slip sliding away, slip sliding away. You know the nearer your destination, the more you slip sliding away. Slip sliding away, slip sliding away. You know the nearer your destination, the more you slip sliding away.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
Hi, this is Harry Rock, host of Rock on Westfield every fourth Wednesday at 8 a.m. Tune in for my view of this place I call home.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Train.
Dodged a bullet there, right? Although I gotta tell you, I was kind of getting used to the idea of having
You're
a
low,
brother or
Ken.
sister.
Peter, we can't risk these things anymore.
You're
Two trains, look at that.
Lois, you're getting your tubes tied.
Why should I get my tubes tied?
Wow.
You should get a vasectomy.
First of all, I don't know what that is, and second of all, no freaking way.
Peter, it's the male equivalent of a woman getting her tubes tied, except it's actually a lot quicker and safer. Let these guys explain.
A vasectomy's a medical procedure, one that makes you half a man. You're half a man. Remember when you twisted up your garden hose? Well, essentially that is the plan. That is the plan.
Well, I'm starting to get the picture, but how's it done?
You make a small incision in the scrotal skin. Isolate the vas and then you hold it in position with a towel clamp. Then you snip the fibrous tissue. Hey, you'll never have to wear a condom when you do it with your wife or anyone else you do it with. We promise not to tell. Like that new hot chick at work. You know, the one who always has high beams under a ribbed white cotton t-shirt, but then stares daggers at you for checking her out. And it's like, why do you wear that if you don't want attention? But you know you shouldn't think that way because of the sexual harassment meeting you all had to go to. Seriously, how lame was that? And you couldn't help but notice that the female lawyer running the seminar had a huge rack. Like ridiculously huge for someone who has to talk about that kind of stuff. Well, I guess that's the definition of the word irony.
Oh, dear Lord.
Goodbye. Say goodbye to manhood. Say goodbye to babies. Say goodbye to kids like me.
Vacuum out your sack.
I have no words for you after that one.
I needed to
No words.
play one that I just haven't done.
Okay. You
I know. You remember a few weeks ago we talked about that wall where it's black here and white here and then gray, and I teeter along that gray part.
Are you thinking you're in the gray part?
I know I'm in the gray part.
I think you've gone a little beyond the gray part, darling.
I was hovering between 3 for that one, and I think that was the worst of the 3. Or the least worst.
Oh, wait,
of
I
the
don't want to
3.
hear the other ones then. Oh, dear. No, don't.
No.
They're
Thank you,
they're
Peter.
both fine because they're on, primetime network television, but
Well, yes, but
they
prime
just
time has
two
changed.
I don't think they really, one of them fits in here. And I think I actually played one of these when we were up at the university, which I'm not welcome, but I cringe when I walk to the sound booth because,
yes.
yeah.
Yes. Okay. Moving right along now.
Moving right along, it is December 28th.
It is.
Year 2021, Anno Domini. This is Ken Stomsky behind the microphone. And I was going to say each and every Tuesday, but no, that's not going to happen next week.
No, it is not.
And it's not going to happen every single week in the future either. Seated at the right hand of the Kenny is Den Mother Extraordinaire Kathy Palmer.
I am the den mother. Moo. Moo. And yes, they are going out.
Okay. All right.
Moo.
In the control room, in front of the computers, in front of the video switcher,
Not paying attention to us right now.
as usual, Kitten of the Keys, Chairman Meow, the December doofus of the dial, Peter Cole.
Something like that. Something like that. Where
Okay,
Eric
I was just given the one-digit Massachusetts salute from Peter, and it was a reverse one. I got the
Well, then he's still on.
Well, at least he's paying attention.
That's true.
So I guess
I was having a conversation. Thank you very much.
Well, so I'm having one, but it's live going out on the air.
Well, there's two of you out there. You're not talking to yourself.
Hey, Kathy, read the headline on this.
All right. More private rocket companies set launches for 2022.
Right. So here he is. He's not even at his. He's ODA. Yeah, not quite AWOL, but he was ODA.
ODA. What is that? ODA.
Out of designated area.
Ah, okay.
ODA.
Hated it.
Whenever I was in the wrong part of the shop, when I was going to school here,
Okay.
I'd be penalized
For being ODA.
5 points off my weekly score for being ODA.
Why do I think that happened frequently?
Sounds like a Pete Beauregard thing to me.
You think? And he'd write it in big red letters, ODA.
Yep, that's Pete.
Yeah.
All righty.
He'd say, Kenny?
Chip, you know what? You just made the list. Oh, no. Oh, here we go.
No, he used to say, Ken, we need to go out in the hall to talk right now.
Oh, I'm sure that was awful. By the way, we did secure a copy of your yearbook.
Oh, no.
I have 2 already.
I know. I'm keeping one for evidence.
Well, good.
Might be digitizing some of it.
Blackmail.
You might see it here and there.
Oh, me with my my perm.
Yes, we were with perm.
Those were the
A very big perm.
Yep.
Those were, oh,
Big
no,
80s.
No.
Well, in the 80s, guys were getting perms.
No,
Some of the
you
students-
didn't see Bob Plass's perm.
Some of the students were like, "Oh my God, I didn't know Mr. Stomsky went here."
Oh, really?
They ended up seeing it because they have the books all laid
I
out.
saw
on the other end.
Yeah, I saw the books over.
We're
in
trying
the
to get
print
rid
shop.
of them.
Mm-hmm.
We want to keep like 5 and just get rid of the rest of them.
I have a question for both of you. Back in the days, you were always called tradesmen. Do they still use that term at all?
Mine did.
Yeah, but that was a long time ago.
89, yeah.
Do they use it now, tradesmen?
I'm hearing they're called techmen.
What's that?
Techmen?
What?
I don't know. You'll have to ask your guest.
It should
And
be
that
tech
was-
people.
In a few minutes.
That was the name of the yearbook, too, wasn't it? The tradesman?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what was on the
Yeah,
cover.
yeah, and if you happen to really pay attention and look underneath my puss, you'll see honor roll. You'll see president of student council.
All right, who did you pay?
I was the only one who do this stuff. Regional student advisor or city student advisory council, which is the same thing Mike McCabe did when he was in high school and sat in at the school committee meetings. I did that too.
Interesting.
Yearbook editor. Yeah, it's all listed underneath my name.
Yeah, I did a lot of that.
Yeah, Massachusetts
did that.
Vocational Citizenship Award, DRA Citizenship, Kiwanis Citizenship. Yeah.
So what happened?
Peter, that's what I was going to ask. Okay.
So there's a lot of private rocket companies
Stop
set to
on.
launch for 2022.
More
And even on the news the other night, there's a big segment. Hey, look, 2022 is going to be a banner year for a lot of private companies
Yeah, it
and
is.
first maiden flights going
Yep.
up. And it made me think, Pete, are you going to be able to take all this time off to see all these maiden flights?
I want to cover them all. I don't know if I'm going to have enough money to cover them all. I mean, Rocket Lab still wants to go from Wallops, so that's one that got delayed by COVID.
Are we ever...
SLS is on the schedule still for February 12th.
Yep, that's Artemis.
The Atlas 5 got pushed.
Mm-hmm.
And then Antares is still scheduled because that's an ISS scheduled event. So
Yeah. Are we ever going to go back to Texas? Because it looks like they want to do everything with Starship down at 39A because they're...
it depends
they're
on what the
modifying
FAA
that.
says at the end of January.
Oh, okay.
They pushed their findings off until the end of January, so that's why I canceled my trip to Texas in January.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's no determination yet.
Oh, okay.
And if they rule against it, then they'll move. I think they'll just pick up and move.
Mm-hmm.
They'll move everything to Florida.
I would like the opportunity to go down to that area in Texas at least one more time. It was kind of cool down there.
It's nice down there, yeah.
Yeah.
I want to go train chasing down there.
Yeah, but I can't see going down there just for trains if
Oh,
SpaceX
I can.
is
Oh
going to
my
be over
God,
there.
are you kidding me? You could you could sit up on the side of the road and see 2 miles down the road and see an entire train. It'd be pretty cool.
So there's this other they're starting to eat up space at a space launch complex in Florida as well.
Well, there was always the designation on the plans for 4 different launch pads in Launch Complex 39.
Mm-hmm.
There's room for it too. So, yeah, SpaceX building another pad there is not a big deal.
Yeah. I'm looking here. Company Relativity is another rocket company.
Yeah, they're not really doing well.
No. They look. It looks like they're going to be their first launch this year, though. That this company, they print all their rockets.
Yeah, I saw that.
No, sir.
They 3D print all their rockets.
Yeah,
Allergies.
they're a small launcher.
Yeah, it's a small launcher. But let's see. That company wants to go from the Space Launch Complex 16, and that hasn't been used since '88, according to this article.
Yeah, that was a Titan.
That was
site.
a Titan one, but before that, it was the Apollo and Gemini missions.
Oh, that's a long time ago.
Yeah, and now they did mention on the news, and I already knew this, but this SLS, that the maiden flight's the Artemis program to go to the deep space. It's they actually said now the world's most powerful rocket.
Yeah, it will be when it flies.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean this thing is going to have more than a Saturn V. I want to see this thing go up.
And then there's the question of whether the Starship Super Heavy combo eclipses that.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be nip and tuck.
And another big rocket that supposedly coming to Florida is the Glenn. Which Glenn is it?
New Glenn.
The New Glenn. Now, according to this paper, Blue Origin is supposed to be building parts for that, and Blue Origin is slowing them down.
I don't know what Blue Origin
They're building
is.
the BE-4 engines.
The BE-4 engine, yes.
And they're way behind schedule.
Yeah. So that particular vehicle uses the BE-4 engines.
Yep.
So, yeah, just.
It's not listen, space is hard.
Yeah, it's rocket science. Come on.
Space is hard.
Rocket science.
Space is hard.
Rocket science. Okay.
As Elon tells us all the time, space is hard.
Man, he ripped Pocahontas and
I know.
Oh,
have you also seen?
Oh yeah, did you see that?
Have you also seen that? Well, because she said he pays no taxes. Well,
yeah,
he's probably going to pay the most taxes of any individual in the United States history this year. Because he sold a lot of his stock options to pay for SpaceX, the Starship program.
Interesting.
By the way, have you noticed Peter Beck is doing a media tour with all the YouTubers?
Yeah.
About the new about their new rocket.
Yeah.
Neutron.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love listening to Peter Beck. He's fun.
That whole group is just they're like party animals by night, but then so serious with their work. I mean.
By the way, SpaceX is looking for a qualified bartender for Starbase. I'm not kidding. They posted in their jobs they're looking for a qualified bartender / mixologist.
That's interesting.
Isn't that new pad down at Wallops all set to put a Neutron up?
Yep.
All right.
But Peter Beck said he on an interview with Everyday Astronaut with Tim Dodd that he hasn't left New Zealand in 2 years because of the COVID lockdowns in New Zealand. So he's like, we built a factory in the United States I haven't seen yet in person because I haven't been able to leave the country.
Yeah, last we were there, some of the engineers were at the hotel we were at, and they were in
They
the
had an
middle of
electron
building
up on the pad, and they had it all connected up and ready to go, and that was it. Then COVID hit.
Mm-hmm.
We were drinking with them at the local watering hole.
When you start talking with a rocket scientist, I mean,
well, all the pad technicians and everything,
and that retired guy that always shows up with the beard and his long stories. I can't think of.
I
his
know
name
you're
now,
talking about,
but he's a blast. He'll see you eating breakfast at one of the diners and come over, and just say hi. Next thing you know, he's telling you a story, and you're looking at your watch. You're 20 minutes into it, and he's still. And he talks very deliberately like this when he tells you something, so that you are able to get every word, so that you do not mistake anything that he's and just nonstop like that. But some of his stories are incredible. Yeah, this guy just travels around, or he used to just travel around the country and got all the launches.
By the way, did you hear the backstory on that? Switching gears because our guest is chomping at the bit to come on. That Karen that exploded on the United flight. Former Raiders cheerleader, former Baywatch bit part.
Yeah, she spat some old guy
and Playboy enthusiast.
Yep, the entitled one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what that whole thing started over? She went to the bathroom, and when she came back, they were already doing the beverage service.
Mm-hmm.
And the flight attendant said, "Just have a seat wherever until we get done with the beverage service, and you can go back to your seat." And she went off on the flight attendant going, "What am I, Rosa Parks?" And she's like, "No, you're not black, and this isn't the back of the bus."
Mm-hmm.
And apparently that set her off. So much so she
I
slaps.
have no idea what he's talking about.
Oh, a lady assaulted a guy on a plane.
Yeah, it was all over the news. I mean, video footage of it.
Yeah, she assaulted a guy on a plane, slapped him. She got arrested for it, too.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
She went
full. They said the second you get off this plane, you are being arrested.
She went full Karen on him.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. That's too bad.
So, is there something, Karen? Oh, shit.
Oh, no, don't you go there.
I'm happy I pulled away from the microphone on that.
Yeah, you better.
Yeah. I'm sorry if that went out.
Yeah.
Is there something that you need to take care of before we bring our guest on?
I do. If you remember a few weeks ago, we were doing Making the List.
Mm-hmm.
And this particular topic of conversation came up. Now, in all fairness, I was searching for something for Hope. I told Hope I had something. I didn't find it. I don't know where it went. So I said to her, "No, I don't have it." But I did find something for Ken.
Oh, boy.
So this is for you. And when you see it, you're going to know, you're going to remember exactly what it is.
What? Huh?
My son, the nut. Alan Sherman.
Remember, we were talking about
Yeah,
him,
we were talking about Alan. I got it.
and you said you loved Alan Sherman. So there
I said
you
I
go.
appreciate Alan Sherman.
Yes, you did.
Oh, and look at this. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 tunes on it.
There you go.
Including Automation, Hungarian Goulash No. 5. Oh, I got to hear that one. Ratfink. Oh, look at this. And it has Hella Mutta, Hella Fada on this one.
It does. And I don't know what year that was, but I've had it for that long.
The album says 1963.
There you go.
I didn't realize that was that old.
I didn't either.
Huh.
I didn't either, but there you go. That's
And look at that, only a few scratches.
I don't.
You didn't even look at it, did you?
No. I pulled it. I did pull it out to make sure that it had the same album in there, but I was looking for Bing Crosby. Hope was getting Christmas albums for her kids, and I know I had that famous Bing Crosby one, and I must have given it to someone.
As you saw right here, I needed to pull it out too.
There you go.
All right,
Alan Sherman.
Thank you, Kathy.
You are certainly welcome.
With that, we will head into a break and bring our guest of the day on, our guest du jour.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
Join us every Thursday morning
from 6 until at least 7:30.
Check out the Bobby G and Company Show
right here on WSKB 89.5
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
And we are back. Usually we start, I guess, up at the top of the hour, but we are going early today because Mr. Plass isn't here and I don't have anyone else to pick on.
He doesn't dare pick on me. I'm too old. He won't. Oh, wait. I got to move. No, I got to go this way.
You're fine.
There we go. How's that?
We have good spacing here.
I have to be centered, Dan. You have to be centered.
Yeah, right before we came on, Dan mentioned, and I should mention who's in the studio.
Yes, that would be nice.
Dan Knappich is in his house. One of the men, one of the people responsible for getting a kickstart going on with the, not Kickstart Fund, but kickstarting the community programming here in Westfield. Good morning, Dan.
Correct.
Good morning, Kathy and Ken. It's been a while.
Yeah.
It has. You haven't been in here in a long time. When was the last time you were in here?
It must have been like in the spring or something, but I did do the...
It was between jobs.
It was between the jobs, yeah. And
yeah.
I did do the Thanksgiving segment on Bobby's show. That was nice.
Yeah.
I called in for that one. No, actually, I zoomed in for that, Ken.
Yeah,
Ken
you
had
zoomed in.
the man in the middle there. So,
right.
Yeah.
So Dan was saying, as we were coming on, we was at the supermarket, and he spent like $12 or $13 or whatever on some roast beef at the deli.
Right.
And I was getting ready to say, I make my own.
Yeah.
And then we got off commercial, but I go to the market and I look for the marked down bottom round roasts, right? And depending on the market you go in, they're already in a vacuum seal thing. So I sous vide one of those for a day, 24 hours, at 132.5 degrees. All right? I take it out of the sous vide. I put it in the freezer for a few hours to thin up. And then I take a real nice knife and I just thinly slice it. And I have my own roast beef, deli style, at home for like $3.50 a pound.
I did the same thing. Well, it's even more than that now, but I did the same thing, and it came out like prime rib at 130 degrees for 25 hours. And Christy said it was almost, to her, it was no different than prime rib.
Yeah, Chef Slattery gave me that idea because a few months back, he brought me some food that he cooked.
But beef is getting expensive.
The prime rib, and he was like, and this one was super rare. And he's like, Kenny, you might be better off just chilling this one and then slicing it thin and eating it that way. And that's what gave me the idea. And beat spending $12.99 a pound at the market.
Yeah, it's not just...
You bought what?
I bought a spoon roast. I did a nice job at the butcher block. I was like inundated. It was Christmas Eve morning, right when they opened, and I hadn't bought a spoon roast in a long time. And I was just like sticker shock. You hear about inflation, and I noticed it over the last few months when I'd go to the grocery store. Usually I'd go on Sunday when the kids are in CCD. We'd go quick for the week, my wife and I. And the bill used to be for like the standard stuff we got. For a long time, we'd get out for under $100. Then it became like $110, $120. Right. So, you're mixing everything in for the week there at that point. But when I saw the price of what the spoon roast was, I was like, that's unbelievable. So I got to imagine, I think beef inflation has gone up like well over 50% in probably the last 18 months. It's crazy. But pork was a much better deal. So I had also had an order of pork chops, and they were a fraction. So I said to my wife, "We're having pork."
I've seen bacon back down to $2.99 a pound not a pound anymore for.
It's not a pound.
Yeah, it's like 12 ounces now, but it's like it was $2.99 at the market the other day.
Yeah,
I've seen it for like $5.99. I haven't seen it go down much lower than that. But
you don't know how to shop then.
Well, Ken, I'm not sure if Kathy.
She doesn't have the Polish blood. Is that where you're going to go?
Well, I hear great things about the Polish market.
I do BJ's and I just order in bulk and then I freeze it.
Yeah.
That's where I buy my meat from. I go to Butcher Block if I need something that only I get from there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's tough right now because I live by myself and you got to pay your own bills. So
Costco
one
does,
income.
Well, they do a nice job with ribs, like pre-marinated ribs. They come in like a vacuum pack. They're very large. They're like they must be pork ribs because they're small bones. But we were buying a lot of those over the last probably 6 or 7 months, and it's easy. You just go there, you buy the pack, and cooking instructions are right there. You put them on the grill or whatever, and cut it open, and they are delicious. It's unbelievable, and they're not that expensive. Same thing, they do a nice job with shaved chicken, and we put chicken into a lot of things.
Yep.
So there's a way to do it. You just gotta probably take a few more trips than you used to.
Now, is it the supply line? Is that what's doing it?
I heard a good story, with labor last night on the news, and one of the things that they're talking about now is changing the rules associated with quarantining. When you've been test positive. And I can give you an example. At my organization, we had an outbreak back in probably it was like just before early November. 9 people in the office where they worked. One of them tested positive, came into work. At that time, we had 4 people that were unvaccinated, 3 people that were vaccinated. The folks that were vaccinated are allowed to come back to work, you wear a mask, you can't show any symptoms, and you try to isolate them to the extent possible. But the other 4 have to go on quarantine. And so that, so in a small organization, that takes its toll. So now you're hearing about it on a big scale with the NFL, NBA is going through this, NHL, some of the college teams. So they just announced the CDC yesterday that if you're not symptomatic and it's been 5 days, then you're allowed to go back to work under masking conditions. And I think a lot of the problem is the issue of, folks some are still afraid to come back to work in a regular environment, but there's a shortage because we're constantly running into this problem. I mean, you look at like the positivity rate, I think in Connecticut, Massachusetts is 10% or thereabouts. There's a lot of people around.
It is.
I still question that with the number of tests, though.
I don't disagree with you, Pete, but I seem like I've heard about more people being positive now this time of the year than I did last year at this time.
Yeah, and the other thing too is right now Omicron is taking over,
right.
And it's highly transmissible, but it's not as deadly.
That's true, but when the rules are the rules and you have to sideline your workforce, that becomes an issue. I had a son who got sidelined out of school in October before they did rapid tests in the schools, and he missed 5 days roughly, because he had to quarantine. The other son comes here to Tech. He's at the Tech school. Glad to say that he made it into the aviation program, and he plays for Tech Tigers basketball. But he's being tested on a regular basis because of there's contacts on the basketball team,
Right.
So like every day I get a notice that he's been tested again, negative. So I think to some degree we're in this in between from the draconian measures from last year to learning how to live with it going forward. And with every month that goes by, we're losing people. It's very tragic. I've lost a lot of people again this year on that, but I think most people have resigned themselves. It's not going away. We have to learn how to do commerce and go to school. I personally think the decision made in Springfield to cancel school sports was a disaster. Last year my kids stayed at home. It was tough on them. Sports were canceled with the exception of baseball. And there's been nothing better for them is to have these sporting events, And so Springfield now takes down a whole city school system that impact a lot of different divisions because of the number of schools that they have at the secondary level. And I think there's a way to do it. There's an acceptable risk protocol. And I know from coaching baseball, there were families that decided not to have their kids play. And I think that's an individual decision that families should make if you don't want to be exposed. But to sit there and say, because this has such very little risk to folks that are, under the 18-year-old age bracket, why would I wipe out the entire season on these kids? That just doesn't make any sense, So I think we're struggling to find, the appropriate path forward. And for some people, you got to make your own choices in life. And some of them will be, I don't want to get vaccinated. Well, then you got to pay the consequences of that. And as I said to somebody the other day, I said, I don't want to be that person in a hospital bed begging the doctor for the vaccine when they tell you it's too late. So everybody, I think that's part of it.
Now that the other thing is, I understood all the draconian measures when there was no vaccine and no therapeutics and
nobody
no
knew anything
pill
about this thing, right?
And no whatever. But now there's an FDA emergency use pill that's almost like a Z-Pack, when you have pneumonia and things like that. There's the monoclonal antibody treatment. There's the vaccines. There's the booster. It's time we started living with it and stop being stupid.
I like the Flintstones approach myself. You take a little pop of a Wilma in the morning on the way out the door. You're protected from the virus. Man, that's a pretty good future.
Remember when the flu used to kill people who might have had other conditions?
True enough. And it was a disaster in nursing homes. The flu was absolutely an outbreak in a nursing home. Absolute disaster.
The flu, and it wasn't partial to elderly. I mean, it took out people of all ages. And
I think the peak.
So now I'm looking at what's going on now. Omicron. Very few deaths.
Yeah,
right.
Right.
Is this a slippery slope? Next time a flu pandemic comes out or an epidemic, whatever you want to call it at that time, because the government likes to, use words differently or change definitions of words. They actually changed the definition of vaccine this past year.
They did.
Yeah, Google it.
You know what I thought was interesting is 25 years ago, I was a much younger person, right?
Yeah.
As we all were. There were people that appeared during the SARS outbreak with masks on, right? And you're like, you just kind of like, what the heck are they doing wearing masks, And, I remember, when you're that young, you have this sense of immortality type of idea. So what I find curious about the nation, the status of the nation today, is decisions are being made, with no disrespect, but by octogenarians, frankly. And they look at the world way different than somebody in their 20s or 30s would look at it. They're risk averse at that age. And I get it. With the medical community, they've taken an oath to do no harm and protect people. But the reality is when you look at everything like you're afraid of it, you're going to make decisions on public policy that are afraid of everything. And the reality is that when you look at why so many young folks are the latest victims of getting test positives, because they have that sense of invincibility. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I equate it a lot like when I used to talk to my parents about, everything became, I'm buying my last car, so I'm not going to make any bold decisions on buying a new car because I don't know if I'm going to be around. And I think that what's missing from the public debate is the robust participation of the generations, the two of them, that are behind us. And I think, we're not sensitive to what's on their mind type of idea. And I do believe that whatever this latest generation is, I don't know whether it's millennials or Zs or whatnot, but they're going to change the work environment such that the workforce is, management of the workforce today is going to have to address things like work-at-home policies, more flex time. And these are decisions like I remember when I was in Yarmouth, I think it was 2018, I brought up a policy proposal to the selectmen about work from home to try to manage the work-life balance with our staff that had kids, and child care has always been a bugaboo and whatnot. And they're like, oh, no, you can't do that. Nobody's ever going to work. The taxpayers will never stand for that. As soon as COVID struck, I reproposed it. Send them all home. We're good. And interestingly, the state workforce, most people don't know this, is still working from home. Mm-hmm. A huge proportion of state
90% of it.
That's right. Have not come back. Where most of your cities and towns have come back open. I know in Yarmouth we closed when we were ordered to close in March, mid-March, and we opened back by around July 4th because I thought it was important that your public body where you do commerce and whatnot and pay all your vital bills and whatnot is open for a proportion of the people that don't do things online. So you always got to respect that balance, But it's an interesting debate that as we've gone through it in the deaths mount up, the entire public dialogue has been with octogenarians, and I frankly think that's been problematic to the debate about getting people to buy into this thing.
Interesting viewpoint too.
I was going to save this for the second half.
Okay.
But I'm gonna put off my top of the hour for a few minutes because we are on this topic. In the paper just yesterday. Headline: Bay State health facilities reach capacity during COVID surge. All right.
I read
An
that.
excerpt. All right. Of about 130 COVID-19 patients across the Bay State system, Kerouac said that about 2/3 of them are unvaccinated. Now, for weeks, I've been getting behind this microphone and I'm saying it's been anywhere between 66 and 75%
Correct.
that have contracted COVID in this town are unvaccinated. Yet you go on social media, well, you can still get it if you're vaccinated. It doesn't matter if you're vaccinated. Yet every single day in the paper, it's at least 2/3 unvaccinated.
Well, I think, Ken, the key that's been missed out of the whole dialogue, and actually from the beginning, I think the dialogue from the very onset got too muddled down in politics, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But the reality is it is true. Yeah, we know now that if you are vaccinated, you can get it and you can transmit it. The key, though, and I think a lot of people are missing this, particularly if you have comorbidities like myself, you're not likely or as likely to end up with a devastating end point that includes death. And to me, that was the final push over the edge. Is like I go back, let's say I got high blood pressure and I got some other things going on, and I'm like, you know what, I just don't. I knew so many people who had no choices, and if a doctor in the medical community, and I have a great respect for all these folks, if they're telling me that you up your chances of having a better outcome if you do get positive, I'm all for that all day long, because I want to be on the living side of the dirt here, not on the dying side of the dirt.
Correct.
Right.
Right.
Correct.
It got me to the point where I almost want to say let Darwin take over. If the anti-vaxxers get sick and they have an issue,
that's their choice.
That's on them. I don't feel bad for them at this point. I mean, it's that group that's we're at 50-something% vaccinated in this town, where the state is way higher than that. All right, these people are the people responsible for causing those who did the right thing at the right time and do the right things at the right time to keep putting our face diaper on. I mean,
well, yes and no.
Yes and no.
And then the other thing too is
that has partially to do with it.
I don't understand why Bay State doesn't want to come clean about little things like when they acquired all these community hospitals, they shut down all the ICUs. They shut down bed capacity in all these hospitals because they wanted everybody to go to the mothership, and they shut down bed capacity at the mothership. So Bay State Health System, if you go back and look over the past 10, 15 years, every time they acquired a hospital, like Noble doesn't have an ICU anymore, and they shut down bed capacity. And so them crying, the sky is falling, well, that's something that they created on their own, and they're not willing to live up to that little bitty secret.
Tack onto that, we don't have enough staff, yet they just let a bunch off.
Right. Yeah. They laid off people during COVID, so did Holyoke Medical Center. You notice they're not crying that they don't have capacity.
There's no easy
and here's a
answers
stat.
for any of this,
1 in 5 people have left the healthcare industry in the past 2 years.
Well, I just read a story on there was on the news last night, pharmacy techs, right? They're leaving in droves. I mean, I didn't realize the pay was as low, but like any organization, the techs are the backbone to getting the medicines dispatched. And I believe there was a CVS or somewhere here in Westfield that's closing down because it can't staff, so they're doing hours reductions and this or that. And it is true, if you go back to commerce trends and retail trends 20 years ago, there was a model that said you could support a neighborhood drugstore within like a population center of about every 4,000 people. And that's about every ward in Westfield is about every 4,000 people. So that's why you saw the proliferation of Rite Aids, Walgreens, and CVS's. And the other thing, Pete, that you can't lose sight of, though, with the hospitals is back some years ago, generations ago, most people went to the hospital for care, right? As part of the Obamacare revolution, what got chartered across the country were federally chartered walk-in clinics. Walk-in clinic medicine for many years was kind of like a thing associated with HMOs, and it was kind of a bad thing, and everybody liked the traditional way. So the idea is that the business model for the hospitals, it became there was less people coming to see us, less payers, and particularly if they're payers on government insurance, the reimbursement rate might have been 60 cents on an actual dollar of care. So as these hospitals matured in these older neighborhoods, you're seeing more Medicare-style patients. They were losing money, but the key was you wanted to shift people to these neighborhood clinics. Now, when I came in office in Westfield, we didn't have one. In fact, Noble Hospital was in dire straits. They were down to like their last hospital physician.
I remember that.
Right? So I said to Ron Bryan at the time, I said, Ron, we got to change the dynamic here, and we got to find out how we get clinics here. And Ron Abdow set one up Urgent Express there, or Med Express at his old site at Abdow's. Noble ended up propping one up on Union Street. There's the one up in Southampton Road. And now they're everywhere. But it took a while to build that capacity. So like anything else, when you've pushed your patients to go to get regular care there, the hospitals are stuck holding the bag on it, and they did the most natural thing, which was to delete beds because they cost so much and they weren't getting reimbursed for that. The other problem, though, Pete, that the pandemic has really exacerbated was we were in a critical stage with mental health capacity now. If you were a parent and needed mental health services for your child or for yourself, frankly, it was hard before the pandemic to get a schedule. And Bob Plass can talk to this too. Now it's nearly impossible. Now telehealth medicine has helped, no doubt. But we've got to talk about, as a society, there's more and more folks that have these challenges mentally that they need assistance with, and we don't yet have an infrastructure for that. And in fact,
and with the Fowler unit going,
well, that's correct, and that makes it worse, right? No question about it. So we're again, we're in a transitory period. Nobody has the right answers, and what I will say is, from following the hospital debate for years, I mean, as like the population in Westfield has aged, most of the payers are not private insurance payers; they're Medicare payers that go see them. So, but you go to the hospital now when you're so sick that the cost of treating you becomes huge. You still got to treat them, but you're only getting reimbursed maybe 60 cents on the dollar. So it's the whole dynamic of healthcare politics is problematic, but the financial model is horrendous. There's no question.
Perfect time to catch back up to my top of the hour, Pete.
You want and more. Shop until you drop. Voodoo consumer never stop. Load up on supplies. No sale, no compromise. Gun crazy down the mall. Voodoo consumer, take it all. Eat this, drink this, try this, charge it, it's fabulous. Step right up and take it. It's fabulous. If you can't afford it, fake it. Be deviously dangerous, ridiculously cool. Let's make it fabulous. 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 Drive me to the bank. Kneel down and give me thanks. Grab your credit card, Voodoo consumer, kiss me hard. Eat this, drink this, try this, charge it, it's fabulous. Step right up and take it, it's fabulous. If you can't afford it, fake it. Be deviously dangerous, ridiculously cool. Let's make it fabulous. Too late, Voodoo consumer terminus. Eat this, drink this, try this, buy this, wear this, fly this, play this, charge it, it's fabulous. Step right up and take it, it's fabulous. If you can't afford it, fake it. Be deviously dangerous, ridiculously marvelous, meticulously treacherous, disarduously cruel. Just make it fabulous. 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 Fabulous.
Support for community radio on WSKB provided by Westfield Electroplating, Employing over 140 skilled platers, painters, and technicians, Westfield Electroplating was founded in 1946 and was the first company in the country to achieve National Aerospace and Defense Contractor Program accreditation, proudly maintaining that status for over a decade. Westfield Electroplating provides over 50 quality finishes to meet your corrosion, cosmetic, or performance needs. On the web at www.westfieldplating.com or 413-568-3716. Westfield Electroplating, putting the finishing touches on technology.
Hi, it's Bob Plass, and I have Wow, It's Tuesday, every Tuesday, 6 to 8. Wow, it's Tuesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
I did it!
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
But it's a shame it comes to that.
You know, I had the perfect clip all lined up here.
Yeah.
But
Whilst we were talking.
I got virtual DJ
locked up.
Decided to update and reverted back to me using a sound card on here instead of the built-in.
Uh-oh.
And now I can't find where that setting is, and it
You know, Ken, as advanced as community radio has become, and we're still reminded that our technology limitations sometimes glitch a good show. But because you do awesome show prep, you and Kathy, you got this covered.
Yes, but when he and Pete start talking about the technology, Dan, my eyes just sort of gloss.
Well,
oh my God, they made it so much better and easier.
You know the rocket stuff they were talking about when I was in the waiting room there?
Yeah, you just sort of go, yep.
Like, holy nerd. You know,
Yep.
I was just like,
Yeah.
They're actually...
I shake my
You
head.
still have to come down with us for a launch.
I love you guys to death, man, but that was like nerd ink going on right there, you know?
And they get into great detail, I want to tell you.
Pete, I'll take you up on that. Yeah, I would love to see a launch.
All right, there's one coming up actually in February. You can meet us down in Virginia.
Meet them. Do not ride down with them.
Well, we're going to Florida first for the SLS launch, which is the new space launch system, NASA's heavy lift, and then on the way back there's a International Space Station launch in Virginia. So we're going to catch that on the way back through.
I did go to Kennedy Space Center just before the pandemic started, and it was fascinating.
It is.
SpaceX, I think, was releasing one spot there, right, and they were getting ready to do a launch and everything, and it was really cool to see all these great places there after watching it on TV for my whole life. You know,
It's cool just seeing one in person, just feeling the rocket and things like that. And you know, obviously, the bigger the rocket, the more you're going to feel. But there was a marked difference between a space shuttle launch, a Falcon 9 launch, an Atlas V launch, even Starship, which Kenny and I got to witness down in Texas. There's a big difference between all those different types of rockets.
Well, which launch was like the most Earth disturbing? Would you think?
Space shuttle?
Space shuttle, yeah.
But SLS is going to be more than that, and if we get to see the Starship Super Heavy combo with 29 or 33 engines, my God, that's going to be unbelievable. I mean, at 3 engines, and Kenny can attest to this, 3 engines, we were at 5 miles distance, set off car alarms.
Yeah,
and
crazy.
Then it's going to be 29 or 33, and that's going to be pretty cool.
I will say I watched the landing the other day of the Amazon rocket, whatever they call that, and the idea that it
Shepard?
Yeah, that it comes down and lands like within a few feet of the X on the pad was just astonishing to me. What I would like
SpaceX
to know, though,
now done it 100 times.
was what happens in the cap.
And they did it 3 times in one setting with this the Falcon Heavy.
Yeah, well, with the capsule though, like I'd like to know like how hard or what's that impact like when they landed on the dirt? Like, what do they do to absorb the shock of that?
The Russians fire off a quick rocket
Yeah.
at the last second to zero out your speed.
Yeah. Well, so what did Amazon do? There was no rocket, I don't think. For that,
They
was
are
there?
under a parachute, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah. So I wonder what
They
it was
don't do a
like.
propulsive
Yeah.
landing.
I need to make sure that I did something properly here because it just seems too simple.
Uh-oh.
Literally, under audio settings, there's a big button. USB sound card or computer audio. It wants me to confirm the config has been modified. All right.
Yeah.
That was it.
You're locked on
89.5 WSKB.
The Dan Knappich Show.
Community radio.
Well, thanks, Ken. That brings me back.
That's old school right there.
Yeah.
Tell me something.
I still
else.
have that.
when did you start the radio show? Because I came into this later.
I want to say it was like June 2014, thereabouts. Like June 6th, I think, was the first broadcast. Or maybe it was like June 14th. But what I wanted to do, I was thinking about that this morning to kind of give everybody an opportunity, like what it was like back. So early on, before that, the WHYN, it was at that time Brad and Bo Sullivan and Brad Shepard, would invite mayors to fill in for them when they would be on vacation, and that was a pretty good deal, right? So you got to work with, at that time there was a producer before producer Steve, but then Steve came in at 2012 or 2013. So just recently, a lot of those great pictures from being in studio with the Westfield team, I used to call it at that time, came up on my Facebook feed, and so people got kind of comfortable to local radio, and as you know. At that time, local newspaper coverage was dwindling, and Patrick was getting ready to take over the newspaper, and the Springfield Republican didn't have 3 reporters in Westfield anymore. It just had Ted Laborde, and there was a couple of freelancers like Manon Marabelli, right? So it got to be the idea what can we do in Westfield to cover news? And a lot of people, including my brother, remember Seal and Kurt Hahn, right? So they used to broadcast right here in Westfield, right?
I do remember them.
If you go way back, and I tell Kenny about this and Peter, when I was a kid, you listened to the WLDM broadcasts and WDEW before that on Saturday
DEW.
football, right? With Rick Big Dick Sullivan, right? And in the cast of characters that were in the announcing booth back then. So there was a crew of us that had this remembrance of all this stuff. So anyways. The college was undertaking a project to boost the antenna signal, right? So they had a notorious problem with getting the signal. It wouldn't even get off the campus, right? So Kurt Roby was the physical grounds director at the time, and my brother had come on in the advancement role there, and Bo Sullivan came on as one of his fundraising assistants. And they talked about, we're going to do this thing with the antenna, and we'll be able to broadcast a pretty fair area, well beyond the city limits, right? And I'm like, wow, that's interesting. And would you want to do something if we opened up broadcasting? And that was probably in 2013, right? So I didn't think much of it. And all of a sudden, I got a text in the week before, in June 2014, I think it was. Hey, we're going to go live with this community radio thing, and the antenna's all set, ready to go. Would you want to host? Would you want to do the first show? And I'm like, yeah. Oh, okay. What's involved, right? Like, well, it's 6 to 10. I'm like, was that a problem? No, I can do that, right? I can talk, right? So then it was Wednesday and Fridays, and at the time, Peter will remember, and actually Kenny, because he was there, was Jake Lehan was the original Pete. He was the student producer
for about
at the time.
3 weeks?
Yeah. Then he went on vacation, and we were like, what are we going to do now? Because we had started to pick up some pretty good activity on it, and so we drafted Peter, and he agreed to come on with extra duty. But the big thing for me, people are always like, well, how did you pick Tina to be like the co-host? And I said, listen, I do most of the things off the cuff and off the fly. Even though I would tell Kenny,
You've never done a minute or any iota of prep at all.
I had my phone and a
Put
pen.
on your headphones for a minute.
Organizations will be in to talk about their initiatives. We had Bill Clark from the Boys and Girls Club. Bill Parks from the Boys and Girls Club this week, and next week we got Andrea Allard from the YMCA, and wow, it's Tuesday with Bob Plass.
From July
and Mayor Dan
2nd,
and Tina on Wednesday,
2014.
and tomorrow's our media partner, Pat Barry, owner of the Westfield News Group. So
he's been doing some massive show prep. I spoke with him at length last night, so he's ready.
well, I hope he squeezes me in for this official welcome, and I'll get out of your way now because I got to open up that box of Joe over there and grab a donut. But again, welcome to you, and we look forward to further initiatives with the city of Westfield. And this radio format will continue through the summer and will culminate with the official rollout of community radio in Westfield on Hoot Day on September 2nd. Hoot Day is Help Out Our Town Day, where about 300 Westfield State University students will converge on the park green with the mayor.
Remember that?
Yeah, they do. And so
Design flaw with that studio.
What's that?
The head end is in the same room. You can
Oh,
can hear that thing
Fan,
whining in
yeah.
the
You
background.
hear the fan.
But I always brought a Duncan, and I wanted to say, like, I think Manny was like our first sponsor when they went and tracked down sponsors. So one of the things that when it was decided that it was actually something that could work, because we had that 6 to 10 a.m. block, and Pete signed on like a good free agent. We had to track down hosts, right? So the duty then was we would rotate hosts through. So Bill was like notorious for coming late. So I was always on standby. Like Pete's like, he's not here yet. Can you get
I'm
ready
talking to
go?
myself.
Right. So I'd come in and fill in for that. But then, Andrea came in and, the superintendent would come in and do a show at the time. But Patrick was an interesting one because that was kind of like a game changer. And Patrick was like, I can't do that. I can't talk for 4 hours. The next thing you know, he became such a supernatural.
Yeah.
But
Do you realize
Natural at it.
he includes on if you look on his bio on WWLP.com, he includes his time at WSKB as part of his bio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Tina, going back to that, I was like, this is getting kind of old because I'm coming in, sometimes like from here and there, wherever, just like breezing into the studio. Pete's on me, so I enlisted Kenny to give me some help. Because that way, I could shove off a whole segment on to Kenny because he was great. We used to do the segment on the Facebook page you were a co-administrator with, right?
The disease of the week.
The disease of the week. Kenny was great with diseases, right?
I remember that.
And so, like, what happened with Kenny is he became, like, instead of, like, once a month, he became kind of a regular as I would get bogged down. I'd be like, Ken, I'd be texting him late at night, like, Ken, can you fill in for me tomorrow?
Yeah. Oh, and at that point, Tina went on to her own show.
Right. So there was nobody, right?
But where did you find Kenny?
In my garage.
In your garage. That's right. Well, Kenny and I have known each other for a number of years, and Kenny invited me over for a summer party at his garage, and I'm like, this is good.
I was never invited to your garage.
Me neither.
That was before you.
Well,
it was before both of you.
So I got Tina because it was getting hard to fill the time because I admittedly didn't always have all the notes prepared, ready to go, even though I tried.
It got to the point where 9:30 at night. Dan, are you coming in tomorrow morning?
So I'm like, who do I know that would have a lot to talk about that would be interesting to an audience that would like the radio? And I'm like, that's Tina Gorman, all day, all along. And so I said, Tina, do you want to be a host? And the same thing. She's like, what's involved with that? Don't worry, you're gonna be fine. I'll do show prep for you. And the next thing you know, she became a natural and she did a great job, and she spun off and still doing her own show. And that was really like, and I thought, the summer was going to be the end of it. But Bob came into his own, Patrick's show, and then, there was Diana McClain had a show. I think it was on Monday.
Yep.
And
That's been the hardest slot to fill.
That's the death slot.
The Monday 6 to 8.
Yeah. And Kat and Ellie did a show for a long time on that slot.
Death slot.
And George Delisle did a great job on that slot. And then Peter went on the road with Patrick at the press room, So and then Jay came along and and Kenny and these guys and Peter, they just kind of forged this mobile ability and it took on a life of its own. And I stepped away in 2015 and over the years I'd tune in the show when I could, and I'd always be texting Pete, will you reboot that damn TuneIn computer because I'm listening on TuneIn, and now they stream it live, and I'm glad to say that even with the transition down here, everything's still going, and they've done a fabulous job. And what's really nice about what you do here is that we still have the ability to bring people in, and they can talk about their stories. Because people ask me, what do you miss the most about being in office? What I miss the most is the people that I met that have these wonderful stories about all the wonderful things they do for our fellow citizens and our community. And Harry Rock is a guy, again, I knew him for years, and Harry's got a show. He came into his own, but there's so many of these great stories within different people that you meet. If you didn't have an outlet like this to capture them in time, those things would be lost forever. And so now, in kind of a way, this ends up being a time capsule, from all the different people that have rolled through the doors, and I think it's pretty unique in this community that we have a forum like this. And you guys, people don't realize, the vast majority of the work that's done here is on volunteer. It's for the passion of the community that they do it, and it's been great.
The first time I met Harry Rock, I didn't know who Harry Rock was. Matter of fact, I was in the producer's chair up at WSKB because Peter was out of town, and Harry comes in with his guitar, and I'm like, "Oh, okay." What? So now we're lining up the Electro Voice microphones to pick up his guitar and to do vocals, and like, okay, well, yeah, nice seeing you, Harry. 2 weeks, 2 months, whatever it was later. He goes, hey, Kenny. I'm like, oh yeah, you're Harry. Yeah, you brought your guitar onto that show when Pete wasn't around, and that's how I referred to Harry for almost a year until he came onto the 350.
I've known him forever. Forever and ever and ever. But I knew Ann because Ann was his teacher with me in the Westfield school system.
She's involved with the women's club too.
She is involved with the women's club.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, in fact, the year before they honored me, they honored Harry and Ann together. So first time a couple. And then I'm the first 2-year winner.
Yeah, no kidding.
2-year winner.
Yeah. So, speaking of music, though, what was interesting in that is I just kind of lost my train of thought, but
it's behind you.
Oh, the train. Nice.
Train of thought.
Well, is all the different audio productions and video productions that you were able to put on, including the shows, and it was all like good preparation for the pandemic because you guys didn't miss a beat. You were still able to, get things done, do virtual studios and all that kind of stuff. And it's just kind of been like a wonderful evolution. And now you've got a lot of great hosts. Bobby's a good fill-in. He's got his own show and.
Yeah, he just started out as a specialty show.
Yeah, and you had mayors where I think it was Rekelt was in here for a while. Mayor Cohen did a show, and then the selectmen over in Southwick had an opportunity.
Joe still does the show.
Yeah, so
on the technical end, it prepped me, kind of trained me for my position down in Southwick now.
Yeah, yeah. So it's just been an unbelievable experiment that has got legs, and that's good to hear.
I think the other ad that it has, honestly, Dan, is we put a face to people. If you're watching it on Channel 15, we have in the city council.
Yeah.
And honestly, I've said this before, there are many people in town who don't know what the city council looks like. They don't know who they are. They don't know what they do. And we've been able to bring these people in from the community that they might just be a name in the newspaper.
Yeah.
But now we bring you on. We see you. This is what you do. The superintendent.
Yeah.
The only time people think about a superintendent is when they have a complaint.
Right.
But this way they see him, they hear him, they understand where he's going. With the community radio and all the work now that Peter's doing with televising all of the meetings.
Yeah, true.
So you can actually get a front row seat and listen to the school committee or listen to the city council and say, oh, that's what they were talking about.
Which opens up, the government to everybody, which was a good thing. And I just did remember the train. I got to give a shout out to Danny Nason, right?
Oh,
so Danny was a faithful listener. When he's working his heavy equipment up at the quarry, he'd be like, hey, can you play a song for me, right? So we would play when I would be on. He would send me a text with a song request, and we would play it. And so, at that time, we're thinking, maybe Danny's the only one listening, right? But then I'd start getting texts from people who were listening, and I would ask them, send me, a text where you last heard the signal. And that's when we realized that the signal can sometimes be picked up as far away as Ludlow. There's a little bit when you go down into the valley a little bit. It fades out.
I lost it between 6 and 7. I lost it at 6, and then I would pick it up again at 7.
It goes pretty good to the west. Yes. It goes pretty good down south. And
I'll play for ski area. You can catch it in the parking lot. Hey, have you heard that Danny Nason has his own segment on the Bobby G and Company show?
I
heard you typing on the keyboard, and I was going to ask if you were going to be prepared for that.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Listen to this.
So even Danny Nason grew something out of it.
Listen to this.
Why are there so many songs by Dan Nason? And who is this special guy? Someday you'll find it, the Nason connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and Dan. Da 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 dee da da da.
That's Jeremy Goff, by the way.
That's
is
great.
The artist. Yeah, he's a regular segment on Bobby Goff's show.
Danny and Lucille recently had some health issues, and I want to wish them great wishes for healthy and speedy recovery. But, community radio, I think to some degree, I discovered Danny by him communicating with me because I didn't know him before. And he just literally just started communicating, and then he's become like a wonderful...
he's our research department.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. He's been collector of history here of Westfield, and it's just things like this that this station gives, somebody like Danny an opportunity and others to showcase the work that they do. Now, if I go all the way back in time when public radio TV was supposed to be run out of the studio up at East Mountain Road, if you go way back then, right? Yeah, so there was some local producers of talent back then, and I remember like Scruffy McGool's Puppet Show was like a classic. And, the thought was, because I was on the council back then, that let's get it out of East Mountain Road and let's move it to the college because there would be this opportunity for the college to work with the public, to train them on equipment. They'd have the studio, and we thought that would be a better thing. And in reality, that just didn't work. It was stuffed out on the Western Avenue. Mark St. Jean does a great job, but in the end, it just did not work as it was intended. So one of the early decisions on locations included the press room. And that Patrick, before he opened the press room, we were talking about building a studio there and actually kind of did some back-of-the-napkin sketches. And at the time, the tech was talked about at the time, but it was like, how are you going to be able to interface the tech studio with the public? And that's always been the bugaboo, particularly with public schools. In Springfield's Comcast studios in Chestnut Middle School, and they do a nice job with that. So after some things went on with the press room and whatnot, that studio site, there was always like this idea you'd have a TV studio and people walking by, they'd come and get their bagel and their coffee. They could watch a TV production. We were going to do news and things of this nature. When that became not likely to happen, we put, Peter, kind of put the energy into this spot. And thankfully we had a superintendent that embraced it because it's not easy to enlist and start up a new program at a tech school.
Tell
it's
me
just
about
not,
it.
right? Yeah. So a lot of superintendents shy away from that. And one of the things that, because Stefan was a principal here, he knew the potential opportunity, right? And he knew what was needed to be done to prop up programs. And since he's been here, like game and app design has, been part of the IT group. They did aviation. They did this studio. So luckily for the community, it's a community that supports this school. We did a lot of great things rehabbing the school and reinvigorating it with life. The city council was very supportive of extra spending. But you needed to have a superintendent that was going to be your partner. And you know what? He had his own show. So what better way to enlist a partner than to give him a platform? And to your point, Kathy, he could communicate with the public outside of the social media soup that's out there, to get across what he's looking to do and get some goodwill. We would highlight students. I remember Tigers Pride. We'd bring in different students on my show and whatnot.
You do the show at Tigers Pride.
Do the show at Tigers Pride.
We did.
And it gave a great opportunity to showcase what kids are doing.
Yeah, before the pandemic, we were doing the same thing, only here.
Yeah, right. And you always would hear like negative things about kids. And one of the things I remember, as a mayor, is you got to see such wonderful things the kids were doing, but almost nobody ever hears about it outside the parents.
Correct.
So it was good, and for all those reasons, I think you found a studio here. You guys keep making improvements. It looks great, and I look forward to even bigger and better things. And Kenny's gone off, and he's the key guy in Southwick now, and bringing this knowledge over to Southwick, and I think that's a great thing for that community.
Well, and now we have a partnership not only with Southwick, which we had previously, but we've also hooked up with Les Tingley and Agawam. We have a partnership with them too.
That's great. Yeah.
And we're doing stuff together. Like, it takes all three of us, because of our limited time and schedule and everything, to get John Vilas' show on the air. It takes all three of us doing our little part of it to make that happen. So
one of the things, Pete, like what was interesting when we were doing those football playoff broadcasts there.
Yep.
That Fitchburg team brought its own radio crew from a commercial radio station.
I know.
And I'm like, listening to those guys, I'm like, man, they must do a lot of football games because they're pretty slick. They're almost like there was the Madden documentary on over Christmas Day. I'm like, they're like Al Michaels in the booth next to me, And one of the things I think that could be really great is to have an opportunity to do more of those types of events. So I was at the tech school, the gym the other night. My son was playing. They were playing the Hamden Charter School, and they had the camera there.
I pay for that.
Yeah, all the kids know that, and so all the tech families that came in from Hamden Charter School, they're all like on their tablets and smartphones streaming the game while we're there, and it was a cool environment, And if we could ever put narration to it, whatnot. And I
Well,
told-
you're pretty slick with the baseball commentary.
Well, I tell you what, I listened to those guys from Fitchburg. I was like, man, you got to do this a lot to get a game that's that good. But those are the things you can do with technology. And of course, Peter was the backbone behind all the World Series broadcasts, and the parents love the cameras at the field, whether it's at Cross Street or the one at Bullens. They love it. You hear snippets of, geez, I can't believe they're streaming what's going on there, And
Yeah, even if it's just a single camera,
Yeah.
the people really enjoy that. And matter of fact, we've done proof of concept now twice for things that are being used at the national level. They're taking the lead, the stuff that I've researched here, and using it at Babe Ruth national level. Obviously, we don't have the TV contracts that Little League does, but we still do TV broadcasts for a couple hundred games in Florida every year.
Yeah,
I mean, a couple hundred.
Yeah, and it all started in Bullens, and one of the things that you hear from the parents of the visiting teams was, thank you for doing that, because my mother was able to see this, or my grandmother, my grandfather. So you open up a whole other world of viewership for these kids that came into town, and I always thought that was like kind of a unique gift that we were able to give to those kids as they go on in their life. They'll always be able to have a version, a clip of that game that they were showcasing.
Do you remember the original one in 2016 where we had the 2 extra teams because of a controversy in New England?
Yeah.
And we had to play games at Westfield State, and people refused to play up there if we couldn't figure out a way to at least single camera stream those games.
And I would
and we were doing you were doing radio for Mountain Home, Arkansas.
From simulcast with the original Turkey Toss radio station, and that was me and Steve Donnelly up there at that day.
Yep,
Yeah,
doing radio for Mountain Home.
Yeah.
In addition to all that, he's also been able to, for example, rebroadcast the Christmas concert from the high school.
I saw that the other
all
day,
of the 350 things
that was
that
tremendous.
Peter put on. And you're right, there's a lot of things people can't get to. And by the way, Peter, thank you so much, because you did rebroadcast the WTG Christmas Carol.
I snuck it in.
I turned that on and I enjoyed it so much, because this year we were not able, of course, because of COVID, to do a Christmas program. So all of those things that Peter has to offer all day long. So beyond the live programming, we also have a lot of the other things on. And honestly, I have found that if you have something you want taped, Peter bends over backwards, and
I try
Ken
hard.
too. Both Ken and Peter try to tape if you have a public thing going. They really try to do it.
Kathy, rumor has it that slob down in Southwick ran that theater group Christmas thing.
I heard that, yes, and we thank you for that too.
I'd love to get more volunteers. I mean, over the summer, Harry really wanted to do the Wyben Parade. I'm like, I'm not available. Kenny's not available. I said, but if you want me to teach you how to use a camera, and you could try your hand in it, and Harry was able to pull off the Wyben Parade. Harry and I have to work on editing. He shot a ton of footage when the guys were here restoring all the monuments.
Oh, we need to put them.
We want to do a documentary on the monuments, but I want it done right, because I wanted to put it into the Athenaeum as a time capsule piece.
Yeah, that's great.
We need to get them trained up and put them to work for when we're chasing rockets in February.
Well, you know how
there's something going on at the high school that needs to be filmed.
That these guys love what they do. There's so much footage of them at these hot events, like the food truck tent, and all that stuff. And I always I'd peer in. I'm like, man, those guys are dying out there. It's so hot, right? But then I think it was like the tree lighting this year. It was like brutally bitter cold, and I saw you guys out there, and I'm like, God bless you guys for going out and doing this and bringing this to the community for
and all that
out of the
filming
goodness of
you
your
did
heart.
for the bridge. You were there forever.
Yeah,
when they did the
live
bridge
streamed
over
for about
Main
6
Street.
hours.
Yeah.
So, hey, guys, it was great patting yourselves on the back, but it's time to move on now.
Okay, and I'm ready to move on. Are you queued up, Pete, for what I have set up for 9:30 here?
He's ready for you, Dan. He's ready for you.
Yeah. Hold on one second.
Okay.
You're the first guinea pig. I mean, volunteer.
Victim? The first victim?
No. Volunteer. We're going to use the word volunteer. And I'm excited to hear this, because I haven't even heard it yet. So I can't wait.
Usually I try to get you first on these,
That's
but
okay.
Dan might have been listening to the radio. So, yeah.
All right,
Sorry
I have
about
the
that.
intro.
We'll go with it.
All right. So, in the past, we've had Ken's 10 version 1, Ken's 10 version 2, et cetera, et cetera. Usually came out with them right around the time of the Rotary Food Fest, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I stopped at 5.0, and then last year I came up with COVID edition 5.5.
I like that.
All right.
Yeah.
Seeing we are going into a new year in a few days, I needed to refresh it, but I can't really go on to 6.0. So, here, for the first time ever, I present Ken's 10, the 2 weeks to straighten the curve edition 5.75. Did you just snort?
I did.
You know how Ken's 10 works. It's a list of 10 rapid-fire questions I send off in your direction. There are no right or wrong answers. It's strictly your own humble opinion. You just can't sit there and think about it. You know who else used to snort? Chrissy Summers on Three's Company.
Yes.
And what's her name? One Ringy Dingy.
Oh.
Ruth Buzzy.
Ruth Buzzy, yes.
One ringy dingy. Two.
Man, you were a foot and a half away from that microphone, too.
And you heard
Holy
me.
crow.
I've been practicing.
So this is Ken's 10, the 2 weeks to straighten the curve edition 5.75. Question number 1. Oh.
Like that one?
I just looked up and saw that. Yeah.
I know, it's awesome.
Is that a COVID virus coming at us?
You can imagine it is.
Sure looks like it.
All right. One use or washable fabric mask?
One use.
Are you willing to fly or are you staying grounded?
I prefer being on the ground.
Is that generally or just now?
It's in general, but especially now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Number 3. Do you wear a mask in your car?
Interestingly, I know these are supposed to be like yes or no type things. I normally wouldn't, but I transported my father-in-law the other day, and I did because he was in the car, and I respect that.
Interesting.
I'll put both down for that one because I respect that.
It's conditional.
Yep. Number 4. Do you carry your papers?
I don't. But I have a photo.
In the
of them on my
gulag
phone.
for you.
I have a photo on my phone.
Photo will do.
Number 5. Do you wipe down grocery carts?
I don't. But my wife does.
Hey, Kenny, look at the set now.
Ooh. You're having way too much fun out there, Peter.
Oh, that Zoom just reminded me of a
Makes me
bad
dizzy.
acid trip.
Yeah, it makes me dizzy.
Number 6. Are you afraid of large public crowds?
I am. Always have been, though. Not just because of COVID. I just always was not a big fan of big crowds.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, you could get up in front of them and address
Yeah.
them without an issue.
I can, but like when we would go to Disney or something, I'd always grab my wife's hand, like when you go into those antechambers, like, here, let's get near the exit because bad things happen when a lot of people get together. So I want to be the first one out,
Number 7. Will you sit down and eat in a restaurant?
I will, but interestingly you say that, and I will not name the location, but for the first time since COVID started, we walked in the seating arrangement for both of my wife and I was uncomfortable to the point where like, no, we don't need to eat here for that. Because the way we were faced was a long table face to face with strangers, almost like picnic table eating, and it was indoors, and I'm like, I'm not doing
Like
it.
family style?
Yeah, it was like family style. Didn't know anybody from anybody. And so there was like, customers down this side, customers this side. And you were literally, your plate would be about the same width here. And I'm like, I'm not doing it. We walked out, went somewhere else.
No, I wouldn't do that either.
Yeah.
Number 8. Do you use a device or a cloth on door handle?
Negative. But I wash my hands a lot, if that,
Thing is, you can't pick your snot locker after.
Oh, we had to go there. We had to go there.
Number 9. Number 9.
Number 9.
Number 9.
Bueller.
Mask up without a mandate. Yes or no?
So that's an interesting question, Ken. And again, these aren't simple things. They're very difficult. To
It's a
pronounce.
yes or no question.
Well, wait
sir.
a minute. I respect the workers in these stores that have to wear their masks. So out of respect to the workers, I will wear my mask when I go in, whether or not there's a mandate, because I respect the work that they do and that they have to be there.
You just could have said yes.
I'm not sure he can.
Yeah, there's no easy
I
answer to
think
that
there's
one.
always a qualification here.
And question number 10, Ken's 10. 2 weeks of Straight in the Curve edition, 5.75. Are you ready to go one more year?
You know, they said
no.
back when then, they said, we're going to lean into this one. Well, I'm about ready to fall over.
Yeah.
I'm leaning so long, and I'm done, you know. But it is what it is. People are still getting sick. People are still dying. It's still serious business, so you got to do what you got to do to protect yourself, your family, and your friends, you know.
I put that down as a no.
Sure, I'll take it.
All right. If you throw a cat out of a car window, does it become kitty litter?
Oh, Lord, help us. That was...
All right, let's see, 9:45. Quick break, Pete, just because I need to do a little bit of clarification here.
Support for the community programming of
Welcome to Mid-Year- welcome to
WSKB
Mid-Year-
is provided by the Barnes and Noble College Bookstore in the Ely Campus Center, offering Westfield State t-shirts, sweatshirts, and gift merchandise, all of your academic needs, and offering textbook materials in new, used, ebook, and rental formats. Available at the bookstore on campus or online at westfieldstate.bncollege.com.
Underwriting for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield, serving the youth of the Whip City and surrounding communities since 1969. For more information on the Great Futures Club for ages 3 to 5, happening weekdays, and the Club Teen Center for ages 11 and older, weekdays from 6:30 till 8 p.m., go online at bcgwestfield.org or visit the club at 28 West Silver Street. The Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield. Great futures start here.
Listen to me, Michael Buster McMahon, Mondays 8 to 10 a.m. to learn the stories behind your favorite songs. Or don't. I'm not the boss of you.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
You're listening to The Dan Knappich Show.
Keep this frequency clear.
89.5 WSKB.
Oh, how cheesy.
Well, I'm glad you still have that. That sounds great. Maybe I could have a show one day.
You're back in town now. Don't
I
say
am.
that.
I am,
Don't
yeah.
say that. Don't say that.
I've got all of them if you want to come back.
Live around the world.
The Dan Knappich Show.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Hey, I remember doing a broadcast out of Pete's basement that long ago under Atomic Radio. Remember that, Pete?
Yep.
We had beers there, and we had a fun time.
You know, that bump reminds me of the Voodoo Lounge in Vegas at 2:30 in the morning.
That's funny. That's funny.
All right, so not only do you have a student coming to the school now, my God, I mean...
6 feet now, yeah, it's a giant, yeah.
Oh, boy. You're tied into the school, not only through your son, but you're, you know what? It's more glamorous than being mayor, more glamorous than being governor. President. You are President Knappich now.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Man.
Thank you very much.
You're the man.
Yes, of the Parent Volunteer Organization. And as Ken so richly described it, it is the group that brings to you the craft fair every year. And the proceeds of the craft fair, particularly and any other fundraisers that might go on during the course of the year, are generated to support activities of the senior class. Also, on occasion, when requested by administration, to purchase things like entrance fees for Skills USA or some sort of certificates or jackets or something like that. The PVO will also take a vote to expend funds that way, but a lot of the money will be used on throughout the senior year to provide for activities during the year, keepsakes for them when they leave the school, and scholarships, and it's a great organization.
Geez, when I was here, we had to do that ourselves.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, we used to do the car show up at the field at Bullens Field.
Yeah.
And, that was our biggie. I don't remember her other one, but that was the one that paid for our
Yeah,
prom.
yeah.
You know, none of the seniors paid for their prom tickets.
Wow. We had to pay for ours.
Yeah. Yeah, and none of the seniors paid for the yearbook either. I mean, the fundraisers that we did as a class of 35, 36 kids.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, covered the prom. It covered the yearbooks. I remember I was the president of the student council, and there was chapter 88 or 188 or something like that, money available. Ended up a senior class actually going down to Manhattan.
Yeah.
Just to go, not to see a show or anything. But I took, it's a funny thing, 2 or 3 instructors came down on the bus with us. Now, I had been to Manhattan more than once. It was my idea to go there and where to go visit, right? So, all right, if you want to see St. Thomas's Cathedral, go at Mr. Such and Such. If you want to go over to Rockefeller Center, go at Mr. Such and Such.
You know, this is a family show, Ken.
If you want to go shopping over at Sam Goody, go with Ken.
Oh, I thought you said if you want to go see people, go with Ken. But
It was getting a little dicey there.
Yeah.
Ken, you redeemed yourself.
So now Midtown
Well,
Manhattan.
he was a kid then.
So now Midtown Manhattan, you know, and I'm just off. The rest of the class is doing their thing. Get back to the bus because I know how to tell time, and brought them to the Twin Towers, and I say I brought them up because it was my idea to plan out this trip. I brought that class up to the observation deck on the World Towers.
Yeah.
And that's something that they'll never, ever be able to do again. And I'm happy that I was able to do that with them.
Yeah, no, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But it's just the craft sale now that you
Yeah, that's
do?
essentially the one singular fundraiser. It's really big. I mean,
It's huge.
With COVID, we limited it to about 76 crafters this past year. But normally it was double that size, you know. So we're looking forward. I don't know yet. We've got to, you know, within the group talk about what next year's craft fair went. It worked out well this year because everything was able to go in like channel traffic. So you entered one location, you went through the different shop corridors and whatnot, and it snaked you out. So there wasn't really a lot of back and forth or stalled traffic. So I felt like it was pretty COVID safe. The crafters were pretty far apart. But in the end, if you double your registrants, you're going to make that much more money, and all the proceeds get rolled back into the kids, you know. So it's a good thing. You know, I always remark that my grandfather went to trade at the time, and he would have been like a 1918 graduate in the machine program, became a machinist during the war. Before that at Pratt & Whitney. So I always think about, like, he would drive from Westfield on Route 5 to Pratt & Whitney. And then, you know, and he had a love of the school. He would come here when he retired. He was a toy maker. He had his own toy shop. He would use the wood shop at night. We used to open it up to the public. And to have my oldest son, and now my youngest son wants to come to the school, but have my oldest son, you know, it's very competitive to get in now. He gets in. He has been singularly focused on aviation since about 2017. You know, he speaks to a lot of folks that are pilots, including like Joe Mitchell, who's got quite a flight record himself. Does models.
Has he gone up with Joe?
He has not. He's had opportunities, but I think now he'll take him up on that. But now that's the most competitive shop, and he got in, and he's doing great, and I'm very pleased. You know, and one of the things that I think I always stop back, like, you know, you go to academic high school, and what do you really know? You don't really know the basics of life, but you could not necessarily survive on your own, off your own skill and knowledge. And I think one of the greatest gifts a parent can give to their child is how to make a living in this world off of their own skill set. And this school does that. And the game changer for this school was the MCAS. Once the MCAS went in, and then if you remember, with school ed reform back in '93, there were a lot of folks that were like, you can't do MCAS for tech schools. The kids will never be able to pass it. They have half the level of academics. And the state stood firm on that. Nope, we're not going to make a separate test. So once that happened, you get on an academic track it's second to none. And I would challenge the kids coming out of this school in their life, trajectory coming out of the high school all day long. But the greatest gift I can give to my sons is the ability to make a living off their own hands and talent. And that's something that you don't necessarily get right coming out of the high school. You might have to go and, apprentice somewhere here or there. But the work readiness idea for kids here at this school has always impressed me. They're just impressive students. And, they're ready to go to work. I know a lot of them. And, and it's like, that's something to strive for. So I'm very pleased to continue on a legacy that started here.
Yeah, so we know it's mainly power plant here with the aviation.
Right.
While that's going on, I know a lot of wireless.
I caught that.
Yeah,
I saw what you did there.
I know that some of the students in the past, and I'm sure there's going to be more going forward. At the same time, they're going for their pilots up at Barnes.
Yeah, he wants to be a pilot. We haven't talked about getting him into flight lessons yet or anything like that. But that certainly he has a desire to go in the Air Force too. So
well, he's got a good roadmap with what Aaron Spiller did.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Or Nate Spiller.
Nate Spiller. Yeah.
So I said, so there's a lot of great potential for whatever it is that he wants to do. Part of it, what makes it challenge, COVID just is like mud thrown on everything in your life. So once we clear this, I think they took the minibus over to Westover. They were going to tour the hangar over there, see the C5s, but COVID protocols kept the kids from being able to go into the hangar with the Air Force techs. So it's one of those things where as long as COVID's around, your learning experience might not be quite as fulfilling as it was prior to COVID, but we'll get over this for sure, and then it'll be back to normal to some degree.
Don't you have strings that you can pull somewhere? You can just bring them up there to
I've been reading
around Westover?
Listen, I've been reading a lot of stories about all these discharges coming out of the military because people don't want to get vaccinated. And I'm like, if they're willing to do that and lose all this talent because of that and not figuring out a way to hang on to them, they're pretty tough over there, Yeah.
All right, I've got 2.5 minutes left. Any final parting words of wisdom?
Ken, I must say, over the years, the singular thing that's impressed me the most about you is your rants. You put so much energy and effort, and there'd be many times I knew you were traveling, and I knew you didn't have a lot of free time, but you would put together these incredibly witty and marvelously strung together. What I'd say commentary, almost like it was almost
a
like
monologue.
Yeah, Andy Rooney type. It was like it was
That's
something
what I was thinking.
that you had to listen to this on Tuesday morning. So for nothing other than that, I would like to say thank you for giving us your rants because they are spectacular.
I think I'm over 300 now.
I know, it's crazy. So
I'm
something you can
trying to
publish
get him-
in a book because I know you write them down.
I'm trying to get him to
Yeah.
do that. Put it in like a
coffee table
book. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I'm
told
just.
him I'd help him.
No, I think that's great. I would just say, Ken, thanks for the opportunity. For the first time in 20-something years, I don't have 2 or 3 meetings at night to deal with anymore. So I've had an opportunity to, do the PVO activity. I'm on the Babe Ruth Westfield board with Pete. We're doing some great improvements to the site. So I'm looking forward to just, doing regular things for the community and different organizations that I got a passion about. And spending time with you here when you guys invite me, it's great, and doing some good things for the New England farm workers over in Springfield. So it's been a pleasure. Thank you for asking me on board, and I wish you a Merry New Year.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks for coming in. So next week I'm not here. I am working though.
Yes, you are.
Yes, I'm going to be
you're
I'm
gonna
going to be
bring back
covering the
some great
floor
stuff.
of both the Las Vegas Convention Center and the Venetian Convention Center, formerly Sands.
Don't bring home SARS-COV-2 this time.
Yeah, please don't. Please don't.
Like you did last time.
And I'll be filming some of the
Peter.
newest, greatest, latest things out there, which means that you're on your own next week.
I am on my own next week, and we have a couple things planned. We have the Hilltown Hikers coming in to tell us a little bit about local places where people in Westfield can go and even do it during the winter. And then I have Cindy Gaylord and Carly Banish coming in from the Historical Commission to talk about the old burying ground and a new TV venture that we maybe have coming up in Westfield.
Do you have a co-host?
I do have a co-host. It is Mr. Harry Rock.
How about that?
Has graciously agreed to co-host with me.
All right,
So
now none of you
look
out
forward
there
to it.
better get used to Ken's Den being a serious program next week, because that's what it seems like. It's going to be well-rounded.
I know, but I'm not sure that I account for seriousness all that much.
Hey, on a serious note, is there going to be any New Year's Eve show? Did you guys make a decision on that?
Yes.
Yes.
We are.
Okay.
I don't know how we're probably going to limit people coming into the studio, but you're more than welcome.
Yeah.
But I am going to open up a Zoom room.
Oh, that's awesome.
And
Yeah.
anybody that wants to, I'm going to put it on that post that I did originally.
Yeah.
Anybody that wants to come in, message me for the link.
Yeah.
And we do have a 6-foot table here. I'm also going to have the Kathy Palmer booth camera lined up too. So
No, that'll be great.
There'll be room.
Looking forward to it.
All right, and then 2 weeks from now, I will be back, and I don't have anyone scheduled because I plan on reviewing the Consumer Electronics Show that week.
You had some great tapes the last time, so I expect that this time too.
Well, I'm going to have a better camera this time, so
good to know.
you're in for a treat.
My mind, honestly, Dan, was blown away by some of the things he saw at the tech convention the last time. It's amazing what they're doing.
Remember to bring back as much swag as you want.
Do they have foldable phones yet?
Yes.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, that's already out.
Motorola.
Yes, they do. That's out.
Motorola and Samsung has one too.
Now.
I've seen it. Yeah.
Wow.
They do.
Yeah, you got $1,500?
No, but
all right, then then you're not going to
You're
get
SOL.
one. Yeah. That's all the time I got. I want to thank you for tuning in.